Welcome, everybody. Welcome. 20th of May. What we got going here? All right, let's see. I want to give a shout out to the Super Chats. Dave the Philippian donates $10, a regular contributor. I went to Buc-ee's twice yesterday. Wow, that's too much, Dave. Buc-ee's. We have no Buc-ee's here. So Buc-ee's just a phenomenon in the South, isn't it? As we do every morning, let's do some announcements. How many days till MontaNIKA? Pull up the... Because for some reason, it on my computer, it won't show the countdown. I don't know why. Patristic Faith. "23 days." Basically 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Give a couple announcements real quick about that. The cutoff date for the hotel deal is the 26th. However, the last couple people that actually booked tickets or purchase tickets and then book the hotel. So there's only a few rooms, couple rooms left. So for those of you waited too, like there might be 2 left. I don't know. You have to call the hotel. But that's one of the reasons why I kept encouraging people, get the tickets early. It's not Hilbert's Hotel, infinite amount of rooms in which each person can be placed in the next room ad infinitum. This is a joke for mathematicians out there. Hilbert's Hotel, all the rooms are, there's no vacancy. They're all filled, but there's an infinite amount of rooms. So the paradox is you can still get people in there by shuffling each person through the series. So even though there's no room, you can always make room. That is not the case here at the hotel. There's probably only 2 left, if that. Somebody just purchased a ticket this morning, so there may be only 1 left. I don't know. You'd have to contact the hotel, but again, clearly, even though the deal expires and the link on the 26th, they're obviously going to be sold out before then. They could be sold out today. So if you wanted to avail of that deal, rooms are over $200 there. It's a wonderful hotel, and the price will go up too. And we're getting that deal for $115. It's a brand new remodeled at Best Western Plus Butte Plaza Inn. So that's our partner hotel. We worked a great deal with them, but it could be too late. Those that you procrastinated might not be able to avail of it. So you want to call, you want to purchase your tickets to MontaNIKA as soon as possible. The conference will sell out, so there is a cap on, because of capacity of the hall. We really can't, I forget what capacity is, like 180 or something like that, but we'll probably cap it at 150 because we have workers and clergy and stuff like that. So 150 is probably the cap. So that's why we can't just keep selling conference tickets. So first come, first serve as far as getting those tickets. So don't wait. We also have a new announcement. A new person coming to be a workshop speaker. And do workshops. His Eminence Metropolitan Jonah is a new addition. So we'll have 2 bishops at the conference. So it just gets better and better. And we're really excited. and I've been going full charge and will be from this week onwards for the next 3 weeks of getting everything set up, getting all the workers, getting all the supplies, and buying all the food and different stuff like that. So keep me in your prayers. Also, we are week 3 in our Canvas college epistemology course. I will keep enrollment open a little bit longer. You can make those 3 weeks out. It doesn't matter if you want to do go at your own speed. But for a little bit longer, I'll keep enrollment open so that you can still be added to the class and just make up the previous 2 weeks if you want. We do have one scholarship available for those who are interested. We also have payment plans too. So if you are interested, please, you can purchase the course here, or if you want to avail of the scholarship, if you're somebody who is in financial need and can't afford the course, please contact me and we can offer you half off that course right there. So that is that. Other news announcements. Again, we'll have His Grace, our Bishop Maxime, here the week before. There are several people that are coming a few days early to avail of that. Obviously, His Grace is coming. Bishop Maxime's coming for our paternal feast day on the 9th, Pentecost. We have him here in Helena at our mission parish in Clancy, at Holy Ascension on Monday for Holy Spirit Monday, and then it looks like a special divine liturgy to be announced at a secret location on Wednesday, and straight into the conference on Thursday with the monastery tour on Thursday, and it officially kicks off Thursday night with the banquet dinner, and then straight full blast all the way in through Sunday to the divine hierarchical liturgy. Yeah, we went over, so Christ is Lord. We went over, this is called the problem of theodicy. We went over it yesterday because there was some 15-year-old Redditor atheist that came in and thought he was so clever. Not even familiar with the literature. The problem of evil was, this was addressed all the way back with St. Augustine. He in his book, the Chittering. And basically, there is no contradiction. So if God is all good, omnibenevolent, what does that mean? There's nothing in that. I think the argument is, well, how can an infinite good allow for evil? Two infinites would abolish. But it's what do those terms mean that's important? Omnibenevolence is, it's not that there's nothing in there that in that term that says it doesn't allow for evil, but all to maximize the goodness. So God always chooses the greatest possible world and maximizes the good. So God could make it so no evil would exist at all, but there would be certain conditions with that. In order to have that happen, you obviously couldn't have free will. So it would be a good world, but how many points? 100 points, let's say. So St. Augustine says in the Chittering, which just is Greek for the manual, handbook, whatever, that there's no logical contradiction as long as God can bring about a greater good. So it puts the burden of proof on somebody else to show that that's logically impossible. But because I can conceive of that, if I can conceive of, well, it's possible, then it's not impossible, so there's no logical contradiction. And the fact of the matter is, we do it all the time. We allow stuff for our children and other people to do bad things and can bring a greater good, and we're finite and not omniscient and not omnipotent. Certainly God could do that, and he does. Also, if you prevented any evil from happening, there would be a level of good, but there'd be a whole host of virtues that didn't exist. Courage, love, long suffering, patience, all these different, like, magnanimity, all these different things that wouldn't exist in that world. So God allows for the evil to happen because in light of that, a whole host of other far greater virtues emerge and maximizes the world in which. And so God always chooses a greater. That's what omnibenevolence means. Always chooses the best, the greater. So yes, he can make it the evil, but it wouldn't be that great. Does that make sense? No, we do not accept. Sorry about that. Patristic Faith is an Orthodox um, ministry and website, and so the board and the clergy advisory board only accept those who are baptized Orthodox to submit, who are in good standing, and so yeah, that's because, and not every submission's even accepted. So yeah, but thank you for asking. And then they have to be reviewed and make sure that they're consistent with the teaching of the Orthodox Church. The debate, it wasn't a debate, it was just a guy giving his, just whining and giving his psychological report that he doesn't like religion. It was just really low tier. It first started off that science says that 50% of prayers aren't answered. I'm like, how you would know that? Wouldn't you have to stand outside of all time to look down at the whole history and see when at best you could say 50% haven't been answered yet? But then furthermore, what do you mean by answered? It says God's faithful response. It doesn't say prayer is magical incantation. God's a genie and he does what you want, but prayer is primarily establish proper a relationship with God, one that you trust, and you lean not on your own understanding, but you take your be anxious for nothing, but everything in prayer and supplication let your requests be known to God, and he's faithful to answer that, not according to you want, but what's best for you. So that's 100%. So it was just really stupid. Then I called the guy out on, you're making a bunch of epistemic claims. From your world of accidentalism, there is no knowledge, and you have no justification for knowledge. Then his argument was just to, like, say Matt Dillahunty, out of all the people, yeah, but Matt Dillahunty refutes tag. It's like, no, incorrigible, and just a bunch of emotional whining. And then he tried to use some of the effeminate dark triad psychobabble on, oh, Christians are mean. If you tell somebody they're wrong, you're mean and unloving. Not it's like, I can spot emotional manipulation, Machiavellian sociopathy, like from 1,000 miles away. You're not gonna like. I do not. The one thing that I do not like, never have. It's in my psychological eval and report. Does not do well being emotionally manipulated. I won't stand for it. This won't stand. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. When logic and reason fail, feminine psychobabble, emotional manipulation, and dark triad traits, tactics. Nope. You can leave the room. I am not going to engage and let people emotionally manipulate other people or myself. Do you think there can be any profit using an AI? Yeah, I use AI. I mean, just depends on how you use it, and you gotta be careful with. But like you said, part of what to be careful is over reliance. I had a conversation with he's Orthodox, but a dear friend that I grew up with. He's a teacher, high school teacher. But one of the problems with just search engines in general, even before AI came out, but now even more so with ChatGPT and AI, is previous to the internet and search engines and AI, you had to read through lots of stuff looking for an answer. And so you saw, like, you're able to form connections that, because you're reading stuff that might not be immediately apparent that it's related, you're reading all kinds of stuff to find the answer, and you're able to see the kind of holistic connections between questions and things in reality. Then you have computers and search engines and AI now directing you exactly to where you look. So you're not reading a whole host of other topics and stuff like that. This compartmentalization causes problems. It doesn't allow, you're fragmented. It doesn't allow you to see how these, in some sense, it can give you, you actually end up not getting the correct answers because you can't properly contextualize it, because you have no context, because everything's compartmentalized, and in order to conceive and discuss certain answers to particular questions. And furthermore, he noticed a decrease in creativity. When you just have an algorithm that gives you, and we're training our minds to just give you a single answer in a specific area, that's like, it breaks. Creativity is the ability to make these kind of connections to things that aren't immediately apparent, or apparent through kind of an algorithm or something like that. So and then just the general reliance on something, and intellectual kind of sloth and stuff, yeah, that's gonna happen. Like, I don't know what to do about it. The cat's out of the bag, as they say. Like, there's just, at some point it might get so bad that, like I said, there are going to be intentional communities that just opt out of the system. We're not there yet. I don't know how fast that'll come, but yeah, good questions. If God violated our free will to choose for us, yeah, it wouldn't be a God worthy of worship. It wouldn't be God. How do we respond to God of Old Testament? That God is evil. Well, first of all, there's no standard. If there's no objective, absolute good, i.e., God, there's no evil. Furthermore, I'd say it's the fallacy of incredulity, or the fallacy of ignorance, or I call it I'm retarded, so that can't be true. Just because you don't understand something doesn't, or why God does something, doesn't make it evil. We do not have the Euthyphro dilemma or the divine command theory. So it's not arbitrary. So we have an explanation of, in terms of the divine energies, and that personhood transcends nature and essence, so that even though will is a property of nature, it's the person that acts, and God is utterly free, but he acts and chooses through what St. Maximus calls his thought wills. Each one of those things are goodness itself. So it's not arbitrary, but there's nothing that stands behind God that conditions him to do the good, such that God is not God or below. So we have an answer. So all it amounts to is, I don't like it. I don't understand it. therefore God doesn't exist or God is evil. But there are like, for example, Father Stephen DeYoung's God is a Man of War. I would recommend that. But just, again, it's the fallacy of I'm retarded, the fallacy of incredulity. I don't get it. I have no justification what's good or evil. I just don't like it. So I'm going to start. I've used this argument before. I'm just going to start telling people that, look, yeah, there's some things that are wrong. There's some stuff that's just philosophically boring and not worth my time. Like, I find that your whole question is philosophically boring and unsophisticated, and it's not even worth my time. Like, you haven't even risen to the level of it being wrong and worth my attention. It's just objectively, philosophically unsophisticated and boring. So you can there's the door. Let's start saying that. Come back when you read a little bit of literature and get and make your argument a little bit more sophisticated. It could still be wrong, but this is a question: is it even worth addressing? Not until you learn a little bit more and make your argument a little bit more robust. Otherwise, it's just boring. Boring things aren't worth our time. You can look up, Salvo, online. There's a list of canonical Orthodox churches. So you need to go to a canonical Orthodox church, and then you need to be able to see what those churches are. But that as far as jurisdictions, I can name most of them off the top of my head. Goark, Rokor, the Georgian Patriarch. There's very few of those. Romanian OCA. Romanian Patriarch, Serbian, OCA in general, Antiochian, Ukrainian. Make sure it's not the schismatic, or make sure it's not a Uniate church or a Greek Catholic church. Did I get it? All of them? Bulgarian, which is part of the OCA. I think I listed all the canonical. Then what you do is you just visit parishes and see what's a good fit, what's a good priest, good community. You don't have to worry about jurisdictions. You're not clergy. You're not baptized into a jurisdiction. You're baptized in the Orthodox Church, and that means any canonical jurisdiction is fine. We were doing office hours last night. I should show you this. It's actually really good. We're going over an office hours Descartes epistemology. And we decided to ask, I just wanted to see what the answer and because I know this material, I can actually judge if, like, how accurate Grok's answer is on. So we asked Grok about the Cartesian circle, and it listened. I was like, it got it. Actually, it wasn't even too generic. Like, it was very specific. And I'm like, that's kind of interesting. So that's kind of a plus about it. It kind of condensed a lot of. That's what I find interesting. So you can go. There's a lot of kind of articles, and for example, you can go to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, but those are usually kind of sophisticated, long kind of articles, and you kind of got to read through. You have to usually have a pretty good foundation in philosophy and stuff like that. And what Grok seems to do and AI and ChatGPT is it condenses all of that. And I'm sure the more that, especially philosophers, interact with, the more that it's getting better, kind of honing in on the correct phrases and stuff like that. And so it's strange. It's like, do I use MT? It's like, actually, yesterday was really helpful to pull up just kind of a condensed answer on what the Cartesian circle is. Also, the distinction between objective and formal reality, which is a very confusing thing in Descartes' Meditations. It seemed to get that really well. So I find it interesting messing around with it and seeing how much can I trust, what does it actually do, how is it evolving and stuff like that. Again, it saves time, but then you have to be careful about how much do I rely on that. That's the problem. The only Greek churches that are not apostolic are Greek Catholic. Canonical. All Greek, Goarch, and those under the EP are canonical and apostolic. So he was probably referencing Greek Catholic. So if you see Greek Catholic in it, that's obviously they're uniates. They're under the Roman Catholic. I don't know what progressive revelation is. Sounds bad. Sounds to me like the heresy of Montanism, of which Tertullian held to, and that's why he actually apostatized. There is no ongoing public revelation. All of that ended with the apostles. They received the complete apostolic deposit of faith publicly. Now, as far as personal revelation in terms of moral virtues and stuff like that, or like kind of insights like that, for example, clairvoyance about particular things or something like that, but that's not new dogma. Like, for example, somebody, holy elder might have a revelation from God that this particular man had a particular sin or something like that, or something bad's going to happen to a villager or something. Like, we have that, but that's not progressive revelation. There is no new developing doctrine. Our doctrine is kataholos. It's complete. It's whole. It's been deposited, and that's exactly what allows us, because we don't have a doctrine of development. We don't have an incomplete deposit of faith. That the whole is exactly what allows us to see what is always been kept, because it's the whole. We have the whole picture, and anything that doesn't fit or the picture of the whole, we know is innovation. So we have the only actually principle that gives us an epistemic principle to actually judge and know what was the teachings of Christ and the apostles, and what is heresy and what's new development. So yeah, there's no progressive revelation. It's condemned, and it's called the heresy of Montanism. Yes, it's kind of loosening up the restrictions on clergy. Like, there have been Rococo clergy and Greeks that have concelebrated. Again, that's up to the bishop. So let's see if we have any more super chats. What other questions and news is going on? The whole Roman Catholic, like a lot of kind of debates and issues kind of came up this week. Obviously, we have the prairie Muslims, i.e., Mormons, or what I call Islamic space cult polytheistic sci-fi religion. Um, the Church of the LDS, LSD, LDS, um, rising up online. We have the Roman Catholics because of the Ubi and Voice of Reason debate. So a lot of these kind of issues have come up. We could cover some of that stuff. Interesting enough, the whole Protestants have been kind of quiet. Maybe those two things have kind of overshadowed a lot of the kind of Protestants. It was like last month, it was all the Protestants kicking up. This month, it's Mormons and Papists. I take melatonin. You got to be careful with the only thing with the melatonin is that if you take too much over too long a period of time, you can deplete your natural melatonin and serotonin levels. So just be careful about that. Also, magnesium citrate and combined specifically with L-theanine. I would recommend that. That really helps. Oh yeah, there are prayers for. Um, and by the way, when it says dreamless sleep, I think specifically they mean like demonic influence because we need dream. Like I don't think anybody. I don't. First of all, I don't even know if it's biologically possible not to have dreams. Uh, there is both a biological and psychological functioning benefit to having dreams. We need that. Um, it's funny because I was talking to the surgeons about this when I went under because I said, what's crazy is that I have a very, very vivid memory of dreams. And I said, you put me under the anesthesia. I'm like, I had no dream. So I might have had dream. They said what the anesthesia does is it creates amnesia. So you don't remember. Now, that's probably the case with most people who say, like, I don't dream. It's like, you do dream. There's no dreamless sleep ever. You just don't remember it. So the fathers are specifically, when they say dreamless sleep, mean by that dreams where there's demonic influence and stuff like that. So there are prayers for if you're under demonic attack in dreams. There's prayers for that. There might be things in. You might talk to your spiritual father, your father confessor. There might be certain things or issues in your life that are causing that the priest might be able to address. So okay, so this is a really interesting question. Do you think some mental disorders like ADHD? By the way, I'm so frustrated this is a really interesting talk. Notice there's no longer ADD. They collapsed it under ADHD. But I was diagnosed when I was younger with ADD and not ADHD. And it seemed to me that those who were diagnosed with ADHD seemed to actually, even though there were similar effects and symptoms and stuff like that, they seem to be different, right? I didn't suffer from any hyperactivity or anything like that. I find it weird that they just collapsed it in and forgotten about ADD. Two problems, and specifically I think with ADHD, ADD, and Asperger's. They're too broad in general first of all, they literally just, well, if you match these certain kind of symptoms, you can be thrown in. If you show this much stuff, you're thrown into the camp. But the problem is the underlying causes could be radically different. So I think it's an umbrella term for both of those. And there's a lot of people being thrown into that wouldn't necessarily belong in that category because it's too broad. Second of all, it is only categorizing in terms of the symptoms and the effects and not the causes. Number two, unlike what actually would be Asperger's, legitimate cases of autism or something like that, because I think a lot of people are thrown into that don't have that. Unlike legitimate cases of autism or Asperger's, which I actually do think there's an underlying neural disorder, I don't think ADHD and ADD is a mental disorder. I think that society's been structured in a certain way to think in certain ways, think about standardized tests, and there's certain people that don't fit into that category and do well with that type of linear thinking, and then they're categorized as what? Well, that's a mental disorder. And primarily what's troublesome about that is that those diagnoses were created to sell medication. And we know in psychiatry there are neurodivergent mental illnesses created that don't even exist just to actually market a medication. So I disagree with the fact that ADHD and ADD is probably actually a mental disorder. It's just you don't do well in certain ways of operating and thinking. I think that's what it is. I actually do think there's probably something underlying with Asperger's that I'm like, that actually is like an issue, like an underlying neurophysiological issue that's going on. But I don't think Asperger's helps with philosophy at all. I think it's a detriment. I think what we see with Asperger's is right brain deficiency, and as we've talked about, the leading, and he's really brought this kind of out of pseudoscience. He was told not to go into this because it was kind of pseudoscience, but he is the best person that's really kind of redeemed this and put it in the right context. So there really is a distinction between right and left brain, and Dr. Ian McGilchrist, and it's really compatible, especially with our Orthodox understanding. But he has a book, Master and Emissary. The master is supposed to be the right brain. Right brain, a healthy mind is right brain dominant, and not just right brain dominant, but the ability to go back and forth between left and right brain, in which the left brain, the analytic, quantitative, formulaic, reductive parts, is made subservient to the holistic right brain, narrative, etc. And he points out that somebody who is left brain, their left brain's totally damaged, could function perfectly well in society. Somebody who's right brain damaged, like totally damaged, couldn't at all. And so that shows you which one's actually more important. I actually think that applies specifically to philosophy too. Good philosophy and proper philosophy is the ability to go between both spheres, but which the right brain's dominant. So all I have seen is disaster spiritually and philosophically from autistic, those who suffer from autism or just display those kinds of symptoms, right, of hyperrigidity, analytic, quantitative. So I don't see any benefit at all. I think it's really actually a mental impairment that, unlike ADD or something like that. As far as ADD and ADHD, it could be. It's just the way that there's advantages and disadvantages depending on how you approach it. But again, it's kind of harder to look at my what do I have, like 50 tabs up and stuff like that. It's kind of hard to stay focused on a particular theme. But on the other hand, because I have 50 tabs open and I have like 10, 15 books on them, I'm never reading from book to book. I'm all over. That's that connection that I was talking about, that like my best philosophy is done because I'm all over the place, and then all of a sudden these connections are made that aren't immediately apparent connections, and it's like, oh, that's... So there's advantages and disadvantages, and you just have to kind of learn to work with how your brain thinks and operates in, if you have ADD. Yeah, I think SSRIs are really dangerous. Yes, Bill Hicks, just be careful with, if you do use melatonin, it does mess with your endogenous melatonin production. Oh, you said, as I mentioned, yeah. Yeah, general anesthesia is bizarre. It's really weird. The other thing is concerned with the nightmares too. You're in your waking life right now. Um, you're allowing those nightmares to hold you captive in your waking life. They're not real. Like, well, the most repeated phrase in scripture, fear not. So part of that what you can work on is, who cares? It's some stupid thing that happened when I was dreaming. Don't let it hold you captive, and you're allowing that to bother. It's, what is it gonna do? So you have something scary or like demonic, and you're constantly assaulted by demons even in your waking life. Like, don't give it any power. So I think what's happening is you're giving it too much power, and the demons will, if you're succumbing to that, because they can't see your heart, right? All they can do, they're like behaviorists, right? All they can do is they shoot in information, right? And they see how you react. And if you react, you're on here like going, how do I get rid of this? Oh my gosh, I'm so, like, this is so terrible. The demons can see that, and they were like, obviously it works. Let's keep it up. So part of getting rid of the dreams is not letting these, demonic dreams or nightmares, don't let it have influence over you. Just be like, whatever. Like, yeah, it's freaky when I'm in it, but it has no power. They'll stop doing it because it doesn't work anymore. Yeah, magnesium citrate is great with L-theanine. Yeah, L-theanine is great too. L-theanine is great too to take with coffee because it takes also the... L-theanine doesn't make you tired. It just... I don't know how to describe the qualitative kind of feel. It levels you. Like, so that's why it's really good. So the combination, it kind of increases the magnesium citrate relaxation. Now, if you use that with caffeine, it's really interesting because not only does it take away the kind of edge and jitter, it gives you a focus of the caffeine, which is really interesting. But L-theanine gives you some weird dreams. Like, I definitely kind of noticed that. Somebody asked, let me get my glasses. Would signs of lack of right brain be poor artistic ability or relative lack of creativity? How would you train for those things? It could be. I don't think Now, we were told that right brain's the artistic part. Well, I would probably say not all right brain means you're an artist, but all artistic would be in the right brain. And also, artistic ability means different things. Again, non-linear ways of kind of deducing and making connections is an artistic way. It's creative, right? Because it's not immediately, you don't follow a formula and there's a kind of dancing, for example, intellectual dancing, where there's this kind of flow and there's these things. You don't follow the formula, but then you make connections. So that could be done intellectually. You're not somebody who paints or something like that. Obviously, painting and playing music and stuff is artistic. I think you certainly can train. One of the things that you should do is, as far as training, is I think take holistic approaches in terms of learning, like the great books in the classical liberal arts, Trivium and Quadrivium. You read literature, poetry, you study language and stuff like that, in conjunction with things more like STEM, math and science, logic and stuff like that. I think that's a good training program. Obviously, you're going to be limited as far as what your subvening kind of neurological and capacities are. And if you're extremely deficient right brain, there's only so much that you can do. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Like I said, the whole versus the parts. So right brain deficient people who are left brain dominant can't see the forest for the trees. Like, they miss the kind of bigger picture. Yeah, just I agree with that. There might be particular cases where immediate attention to kind of pull somebody out of something for short term on SSRIs, there might be some cases of that, but you should not. There's some serious problems with the long term usage of almost all medications, but certainly SSRIs. It restructures your whole brain. Like, it keeps you in a bubble. I think that it keeps you from developing spiritually and morally in terms of characters and virtues, because it keeps you kind of in an emotional bubble. I'd recommend, let's just pull up, if you want to pick from this, let's pull up the Thomas Aquinas curriculum, and you can get a list, and you could just, so it's broken into the different disciplines, and you could pick, and I think they do put it together in the proper kind of order too, so I would follow this curriculum. St. John's will have a similar. The only difference is St. John's is secular. Of course, minus out the Roman Catholic. I mean, there's some stuff that I think you should read of the Roman Catholic, but it's obviously Thomas Aquinas is geared all towards Roman Catholic theology. For the most part, I mean, they might throw something else in there. But what I would say is minus a lot of the Roman Catholic theology out for Orthodox, and you have... Okay, ready? You have I would encourage this list. Well, let's just go through this. This is interesting. I think this would be a great education foundation for you guys, and you don't have to do it all. Great. Start with the Holy Bible. That's a great, I think, introduction to... That's the foundation, right? It's on our altar. Philosophy. Do Plato. It gives some dialogues here of Plato. Porphyry is important for the development of logic, and there's the Isagoge. It's a small little pamphlet. Start with Aristotle. These are the logical works here. So you see that there's this is kind of a foundation in logic. This is a commentary on, you could replace that if you wanted to, but it's not bad. It's just Aristotelian commentary on Aristotle. In terms of sciences, the parts of animals, Deconics, like actually a really good, I know he's a Roman Catholic, really good. Fabra, Galen, Harvey, Linnaeus, Pascal, Archimedes, Mendel. So here you're getting your foundations, biology, and even beyond with Pascal's equilibrium of liquids, and even the foundations of genetics there. Mathematics, definitely start with Euclid. Pick a language and a text to help you through that. This was Latin, you could do Greek. A combination of literature and philosophy and poetry. So this is kind of the right brain. Read Homer, absolutely. Iliad and Odyssey. Read these works by Plato. Read definitely some of this. Agamemnon's great. Libation Bearers, Sophocles, Herodotus. When you get into history, and Plutarch. Read about the structure of how does rhetoric and poetry work as far as structure. You can get that Aristotle, Euripides. Thucydides is another history. Aristophanes is comedy and I think it's important. Read St. Augustine, absolutely. On Christian doctrine, all of these are great. You can minus that out. Read St. Athanasius, absolutely foundational in. They choose to go into St. Anselm. Sorry, no, he's not a saint. I just saw that there. From Anselm of Canterbury and Ganilo. If you want, or replace that with something. Definitely read this as foundational. St. John of Damascus on the exact exposition of the Orthodox faith. Read the pre-Socratic philosophers, absolutely. Read Aristotle's Physics and De Anima on generation and corruption. Now in the sciences, Lavoisier, Avogadro, Dalton. So you're going to need to know the foundations of atomic theory. Gay-Lussac, accommodation gases. Definitely read Pascal. Mendeleev, I would definitely recommend him. On math, I think it's a great way to start here for sophomore math. Read the Timaeus. And then in terms of mathematics in astronomy, you want to do Ptolemy, Copernicus. So this is going through the history, right? First, the geocentric Ptolemy, then into Copernicus and Kepler, and then mathematics, Apollonius on conic sections, and Archimedes. Because before we get to algebra, everything's geometry. And so three-dimensional has to be described in terms of cones and spheroids and stuff like that. Now that's necessary to understand. You can't actually understand Descartes' analytic geometry, i.e. algebra, until you understand that. Again, continue your language and whatever you want to do there. Read Virgil, Lucretius, Livy. Livy is history. Plutarch is history. Tacitus, Annals. Read Cicero. Cicero's great. Read Epictetus. So now you're getting into the Stoics. They throw in St. Augustine some more. St. Augustine is really important to learn. There's some great stuff in there. I really enjoyed Boethius. Of course, Dante, Chaucer, Spencer's Faerie Queene. You can minus this out and put something in. I do think it is important, though. I would include, if you're Orthodox, you should understand Aquinas and read the Summa Theologiae. Right? You need to understand the Roman Catholic system. If you're going further in your education in terms of theology. Read Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics and Politics. And if you advance to a third year in your education on sciences, read Descartes' Principles of Philosophy. Definitely Galileo. This is really important. I learned so much from both Galileo and Newton. Okay, now we're getting into algebra. Viet and Descartes are the fathers of algebra, so you can read Descartes' analytic geometry there. Viet as well. So we're moving from just talking about spheres and stuff, and we're moving to a more abstract level in which we can represent. I don't have to cut a cone to get a parabola. Now I can represent that with more abstract kind of numbers. So this develops here. And accompanies Archimedes' quadrature of the parabola, right? Because that's going to show how this stuff's possible. This Bolzano is number theory. Bernoulli, number theory. Our junior year, we did music theory. So you could learn a little bit about music theory and pick something. And notice they'll throw in all this kind of theory, like on tonality, Kalkovich on the measurement of tones and stuff like that, and different books on music theory. We study you actually have to write a sonata based on Mozart's sonatas. You're given a philosophy too, Boethius on music, so notice how this stuff is really left brain. It's mathematics. So what do? You make the left brain subservient to the right brain. You understand that within the context of what is the philosophy of music theory and music itself. So it's good that they do that. One of my favorite books by Cervantes, Don Quixote. Machiavelli, definitely read Machiavelli. Definitely read Shakespeare. This was a new edition, so they even put the Protestant in there. And then Cogitant's response to, you don't have to do that, but you get the general idea. You're putting kind of more later kind of, I would say replace that maybe with certain councils and works, St. Palamas and different stuff like that. But you see the kind of graduated education. So notice there's an order to this, and young Orthodox people, converts, never follow. What do they jump into? Right into Palamas, essence, energies, some really difficult stuff, issues in the Council of Jassy, Council of Jerusalem. It's like you're not going the proper order. I gave you kind of a proper order. We started with read the Bible. Read the lives of saints. Read St. Athanasius on the Incarnation. Read St. John of Damascus. Do you see the order? Then start going into... And it needs to be coupled, notice, with the proper philosophical order of your study too. Because guess what? Once you get into kind of the Palamite synods, the Cappadocians and stuff like that, they're going to be using philosophical terms that you're going to need to know from reading those prior things that I had illustrated in terms of Aristotle and Plato. And read Bacon's New Organon. So here's modernity. Modernity, Luther, Bacon, Descartes. A kind of response and reaction to the rationalism of modernity. Pascal's Pensées, great. One of the closest Western philosophers to orthodoxy, this gentleman right here. Read Hobbes' Leviathan, Spinoza, Milton's Paradise Lost. Read Licide, Phaedra. Definitely read Locke, absolutely. Berkeley, Hume, Jonathan Swift. Here's some history. Gibbons, I think you should read that. Definitely read Leibniz, Discourse on Metaphysics, Rousseau, obviously, and Immanuel Kant. So notice what people do. They jump right into Immanuel Kant. You're not going to be able to understand this stuff unless you, not fully. Again, it's holistic and it's ordered. The modern education is just the opposite. Pick and choose what you want and jump right in the middle of the Enlightenment. And I think this is cool too. I think that's important. Read the Articles of Confederation, Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Lincoln-Douglas debates. Yes, I would agree with that. Okay, your final capstone, your final year of your education, or however you want to replace this with something. I would probably say maybe at this point the Cappadocian follows the Palamite synods. More kind of difficult. Put St. Maximus in there and replace. In philosophy, now you can advance to physics and metaphysics. Do not start with the metaphysics in your philosophical education. You will not understand it. Now let's go into a capstone on your education for science and mathematics. Or science, Newton's Optics and his Mathematica, or his Principia. Read Huygens' Treatise of Light. So now we're getting optics, right? Young, Gilbert, Faraday, Maxwell, absolutely all of these. Read Darwin, absolutely. Read Darwin's Origin of Species. These are editions, you don't have to read those. Read Mendel, absolutely. Watson and Crick, Eldridge and Gould, punctuated, that's a good addition too. Punctuated equilibrium. So now there's developments in the theory of evolution with punctuated equilibrium, which is most people in evolutionary theory have abandoned Darwinian phyletic gradualism. Punctuated equilibrium was extremely influential, so you need to know that. I find it interesting. I didn't have the Polanyi in my undergraduate, but I think it's a good addition. I like Polanyi. So it's kind of philosophy, biology, philosophy. He's a philosophy science dude. It's cool they put this in too. I didn't have that. I would definitely recommend that. Aristotle's Metaphysics, of course. All right, mathematics. Now you're at in junior year and senior year, you're both taking calculus as well. So at that, you see what, and the addition in senior year, your final capstone education in mathematics, not only are you doing calculus, so you're at like calculus 2 now, you're doing number theory. So Dedekind, I have that right here. Actually, I was looking that up. Lobachevsky. Now Now it's interesting they put this in mathematics, but this could be science as well. Relativity, read that. And then as far as seminar literature and various stuff, Tolstoy, Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, great book. Kant's Critique of Pure Reason, the Groundwork of yes, read those, absolutely. Goethe, Faust, Hegel, yep, read Hegel. This is important too. You need to read that. Feuerbach, Jane Austen's Emma, Tocqueville, Alexis de Tocqueville, read that. I think that's important. Mark Twain. You should read Karl Marx. Now at this point you can understand it because now you've gone through modernity and the Enlightenment. You've already read Hegel, and you should read these. Das Kapital, Communist Manifesto, Economic and Philosophical Manuscripts by and German Ideology. Read Engels too. Ibsen's Dollhouse, yes. Read Brothers K, absolutely. Read Nietzsche, Kierkegaard, My Antonia, Faber. This is good. This is important to understand. This was just brought up in the X Space yesterday. I think it's important for you to read John Henry Newman, his essay on development of Christian doctrine. It'll show the differences between Roman Catholicism and Orthodoxy. Put in some poets here. Eliot, Joyce. Read Freud. Read Jung. Read Heidegger. Notice they don't throw you into Sein und Zeit, being in time. So maybe you want to introduce with the introduction of metaphysics, or Heidegger's essay on technology is good. I would introduce this and then go into being in time. I'd also add Husserl in that, Faulkner. Replace all these encyclical letters here with certain councils. Start reading up on that. All right, that would be, you want to know your education, like an ideal kind of formation of education, take that. Now of course you're not going to have the time that I did. I was basically in a no TV, I was almost in a monastic setting where all you did is read that. So what you could do, you could spread that out a further time, and then also you don't have to do all of that. You can kind of pull pieces out and make I should write something up specifically, and I have been working because we're working on developing this Orthodox college with some of the professors. I should put together kind of a curriculum A, B, given on times and stuff, just kind of like what we went over today. Like, how do I approach my intellectual development in terms of education? That's exactly how you do it. Unfortunately, you're always gonna and Jade brought this up, like the drawback of, like, his classes are just, assigning books. You're not in a classroom. There's no Socratic dialogue where you're working with other people through this stuff. You're doing it alone, so you always be deficient in the education. Like, you all be not deficient, disadvantaged. You get a lot more out when you have a seminar on Socratic method discussion that you could work like that could be done online. We, in some sense, we do this through my course every Monday evening. But yes, just reading the books on loan, it's going to take you more time. It's going to be more difficult. But those are definitely the structure, the different disciplines, and the order that you would want to proceed in, just as I had laid out. Okay. I'm looking. Hold on. So you got to talk to the priest. I mean, nobody's going to force you to do anything. There'll be a recommendation. You need to get to know the priest as far as, you and your fiance, and then have a discussion about how long, like, is there things that we need to work on in our relationship before we get, like, let's talk about a date. Yeah, that's only a priest would really be able to give you a good answer to that. Cymbalta's a crazy drug. Yeah, that's... Questions about the order of education, the structure, the kind of how those parts are put together, as far as my recommendations that we just went over. We've been taking time, like, I don't want to rush this. Several Orthodox professors and people, philosophy professors and philosophers with PhDs, have been working on drafting up and thinking through doing an Orthodox online college that would have different development stages. Eventually, like, a second stage would be to have actually practicums at a physical location. So notice how people often go the other way. They start with a physical location first. There's lots of overhead. Like, that just seems extremely dangerous. So many of them fail. And so, I always have the approach, what can we do? What are the immediate needs? And could we fulfill those with the least amount of overhead possible? It's like, yeah, that's how you do it online. So once you kind of build that in the reputation, the accreditancy process and stuff like that, this college only allows PhDs to actually teach. It will have the blessing. I've already talked to Bishop Maxim about it. And so I don't want to rush it. We've been working through and thinking through these issues for about 2 years. Also, my beta tests are the Patristic Faith courses. I'm training the professors who have only taught in person how to design asynchronistic courses. I have online teaching certificates, so I've had to go through training of how do you create asynchronistic courses since you don't have live lectures or in-person lectures. How do you keep, what are kind of pedagogical tools and things that you use to keep people involved? How do you design these things? How do you design modules and stuff like that? So I've had a lot of experience with that. And so I'm in the process of actually training the other professors, like, here's how we design courses, and using the Patristic Faith college courses that we do, that as we see that even departments now and chairs are accepting that as transferable units. To use to integrate into all that information and that whole kind of template and structure into the Orthodox college that we're working. Once we get that polished up to the degree that we feel comfortable, this is really extremely professional, we will launch that and announce that. The structure of this online college, we're still working on names. It could be SBOC, St. Basil's Orthodox College, is there will be, at the beginning, asynchronistic courses. That means no live lectures. Now, of course, as we do ours, we have live office hours and tutoring sessions, so those can count as, and you can have your choice between what's called a hybrid class or an asynchronous course in the Orthodox College. And so an asynchronistic is a lot better for those who are working and have jobs, because the professor's already pre-recorded all the lectures. So you don't have any schedule conflicts or time conflicts. That means you can go in at your own time and do the work. Hybrid class is different. Hybrid class is still online, but there's scheduled days that we're meeting on this day. So we want to offer two of those, an asynchronous course and hybrid, to fit people's schedule. Now, this will be divided, the college will be divided up into three main streams: philosophy, theology, and then liberal arts. Now, the liberal arts can cover any of the things that we just went over. Dostoevsky, poetry, literature, music, right? That's broad enough. And there's several professors that have training, and some have even created their own liberal arts colleges and stuff like that, that would obviously be ideal for that. And the first stage of development, as I'd said, is offering the asynchronous and hybrid, so online, in the three streams of philosophy, theology, and liberal arts. And then they'll be offered at the same price as community college. Second stage is accreditation. And so you have to have a first stage before you can even get to the accrediting agency. Like, now it's an accredited college. And then each semester we'll have a practicum 1 to 2 weeks in person, with like maybe somewhere like the Antiochian Village, or here in, at the monastery in Montana, something like that. And again, you have a certificate, you have a diploma. Third stage, once it's developed, like we could, money and funding and obviously accreditation to move to actually have a physical location. So that's there's a clergy advisory board, Episcopal blessing, etc. That's what we're working on. But we're taking our time because we don't want to mess up. We want to make it really good. But you can experience some of that already before we launch it by signing up with one of our Patristic Faith Canvas courses that are the same courses I teach at the accredited colleges and universities that I'm employed at. Solomon donates $1. Is this a good retort? The only way the Catholic can solve the epistemic certitude of them kicking the can down the road to the Pope is the Pope gives the Catholic an LSD-like tablet of infallible interpretation, bypassing predication interpretation. No, that doesn't even... I don't know. Like, so the papacy promises epistemic certitude. Then when you get into the details, it's like, well, what counts as certain? Extraordinary magisterium or ordinary magisterium? Infallible, and even the infallible stuff is still binding. Okay, so if you have not everything in Vatican I and Vatican II is infallible, they say. But it doesn't say in their councils, nor is it with the encyclical letters, which one's infallible and which one isn't. Okay? It doesn't say in that. So then, as we saw, somebody came on X, well, but we have the Pope, you see. Like, the fact is, there is infallible. Yeah, but it doesn't help me because I'm fallible, and I have no way of actually telling I have to interpret the infallible thing by my fallibility, so I could get it wrong. Well, yeah, but we have the Pope, and he can help with that. Oh, really? Well, like, is there a Pope Leo, or was there a Pope Francis hotline? You can call them up. Now, am I interpreting this infallible pronouncement? First of all, is this the infallible pronouncement? And am I interpreting it correctly? So I'm going to have to rely on two things: my own fallibilism, ability to err, and the Pope's fallibilism too. Because when the Pope then tells you what's infallible, or what the right interpretation of that, he is not protected. He's not giving a proclamation ex cathedra. So that could even be incorrect. The Pope's own interpretation in identifying what's infallible and what the infallible thing means could be wrong. So then it's like, okay, well, here, now we have 800 pages of Roman Catholic theologians that will explain and make it so clear. Then you get into the 800 pages, you're totally lost in a maze of theology that's supposed to make it more clear, right? And which you're still going to be relying on what? All of it's fallible. So I have no way of determining. So in what sense does this infallibility actually help us, right? This principle, it doesn't just like, well, the Pope just waves his infallible magic wand, ex cathedra wand, and then it solves the problem. It's like, no, because you still have to go through. And it's a total con sales pitch. Oh, but I thought that they were supposed to guarantee more certitude and clarity. And when you ask a question, you're thrown into a maze of theology that's so confusing that nobody agrees with. Now you're totally lost and you forgot what the even question is. So is that the response? Like, well, the way that we answer these things is we make it so complicated that you forget what you were even asking, what the question was in the first place, and that's what makes it so certain, is because you can't remember. It is an anesthesia amnesia machine, theology, and smokes and mirrors for autists to get them to what? Conceal the crime, that what they're promising actually isn't the case. It provides no unity, no clarity, and no epistemic certitude at all. So how do I get myself to forget about that was the original question? Throw somebody in a maze of something so complicated and so obscure that you forgot what you were even asking in the first place. That is Roman Catholicism right there. Why does Jim Bob always stream at the same time? There's got to be rules in the universe against this. We need to talk, Jim. Jim, Bob, we need to talk. I think what you saw voice, it's like Roman Catholicism is in desperation. What's amazing is all the trad cats. I even see people I went to school with that I'm like, I know that they don't agree with, praising like, oh, well, Pope Leo, he's so good. Like all the, don't look over there and ask questions about the other stuff that he said. Like, it's such a cope. I mean, just so insane. So look at this. And it's just devolving into Reddit tier kind of just straw mans and ridiculous arguments that Francis used to be based, in 2013. Remember he said there's too much faggotry in the church? That's what he used to be. Good. Didn't he used to be... He was actually, earlier in his career as a priest, wasn't he like anti-Marxist and anti... liberation theology and stuff like that, and something happened where totally switched positions on. I'd actually like to look at that, because he didn't seem to be like that when he was younger. Are you cooking bread? It smells so good. Yes. My wife's making sourdough crackers. Love it. He was a Jesuit, yeah, I explain. All right. Let me show you something. This was brought up in the extreme. So the reason why people aren't becoming Orthodox is because of our view on contraception and divorce. Now, what's so stupid about that is that can't be an argument against orthodoxy, as Ubi pointed out. Because, first of all, it wasn't, till 1961 that the Roman Catholic Church had a position on contraception? So does that mean it wasn't the church? That you should go find some Protestant cult sect? Suppose there was a Protestant cult sect. Suppose the Mormons had a position on contraception and the Roman Catholics prior to 1961. You're telling me that's a reason to leave the Roman Catholic? If you were a Roman Catholic, you would leave that because the Roman Catholics didn't have a position on contraception and Mormons do. What a stupid argument. Number two, we do have a position on it. The problem is you define that a position has to look the way that we make a position on. We don't start with formula and then have to be like, I have to, in every single case, make a synodal dogmatic declaration on every particular moral issue. We do not have a God of mathematics formula that, you know what, you're going to be on Judgment Day. Like, did you get all the mathematical formula? Because all I care about is formula and mathematics. This is how stupid Roman Catholics are. They're so obsessed that if you say the formula wrong, the baptism doesn't even work. It's literally a religion for robots and autists. All of our dogmas and proclamations, and there could be an infinite amount of them, just because we have been, there's a finite amount that revealed, comes from what? A person, the Theanthropos, a life with Christ. Does Christ promise you, you know what the most important thing is, disciples? Algorithms. Algorithms inform. We've got to get the mathematics to check out. Absolute intellectual epistemic certitude. Do you know what a proposition is? This is a fantasy between your two heirs. If this is not rooted in an emergent phenomenon of a person, and that's what the problem, where all this stems from, they embraced Greek metaphysics of putting ontology in essence before personhood. The filioque, all of the formula, right? That's why everything's just an essence and a formula, right? That's what comes first. What do we put? Person first, a direct and we're not mediated to the Trinity or Christ and his body through formula. We have an immediate experience with God, an incarnational, and we live a life. And Christ doesn't promise us the way to heaven is to get all the facts and formulas and epistemic propositions, and if I can create this system of perfect infallible certitude, won't save you, will not raise you from the dead. Jesus Christ will. And in the life with him, being united, is what he asks, do you want to be healed? How is this stuff going to heal you? So therefore, what comes first? Formula and propositions about moral issues? Or, again, we have a virtue epistemology that's informed with the life and the whole kataholos, the martyrs, the way, the apostolic, all the pieces, right? Experiencing that incarnationally, living with the saints past, present, and future, living with the icons and doing all of this, reading the fathers, all of this informs the priest as a physician of souls, standing as Christ, the physician of souls. How do I use issues about contraception to heal? When is it not healing? When is it soul destroying? So that requires entering into a relationship. The thing that the Roman Catholics always get is they do what? They commit the fallacy of accident. In some sense, they're almost like Kantians. Rule worshippers. And they're pharisaical, right? So it's not about the end of the law and what it does and heals. It's about the law and the formula itself. And they're Kantians in the sense that, well, these have to apply everywhere at all times in the same way. So they're absolutist. Now, we're all objectivists. We believe the moral law is independent of us, but they're absolutists, right? And so what they do is they end up committing the fallacy of accident, applying the rule to cases the rule was never intended to include. So yeah, there might be exceptions. Does that break you violated the rule? Well, if you're a rule worshiper and not a lover of God and man, and don't see that the sum of the law and the prophets is love of God and neighbor, then yeah. But ours is not a courtroom nor a mathematics lecture hall. It's a hospital. We have general principles. Well, how do we know? Well, not through scholasticism and systems and stuff like that, by entering in a relationship with God and the saints and acquiring the virtues in God's perspective to be able to know how to answer these things. And you're telling me, Papist, that's an argument against orthodoxy? Number two, you already have contraception, natural flam. So notice their pharisaical legalism. Oh yeah, but if I add this and I change the meaning of this term here, it's not actually, but that doesn't count. The masters of illusion, smokes and mirrors, and ad hoc modifications. They're trying to trick you. We do have a position on. You just don't like it how it's answered because it's a radically different system, and they constantly do this. They have an arbitrary definition of dogma, unity, and how you deal with faith and morals that they can't justify, and they don't even live up to. They don't do any of this stuff. This is ridiculous. They allow for divorce. Are you kidding me? It's called annulment. They change their position because then they accept St. Basil. They practiced for 1,000 years. Oh no, but we changed. Oh, but I thought dogma couldn't change. No, but it's not change. It's development, because we can have an ad hoc modification from John Henry Newman, and well, now you never know is something false, because I can always claim that, well, it was just nascent. I can change my position and just call it. Until now I don't know anything. And if you can annul anything, if you can go to the vending machine, which basically they have, to get an annulment that you were never married, then none of you even know if you were married anyways, because any of it can be done. So do you notice the certitude that it's promised actually is a con? Nothing's certain now. You don't know if you're married. You don't know what actually the position is. The Roman Catholics do not make anything clear, and then you can change it. Change natural law on faith and morals. Death penalty is based in natural law. No, it isn't. Because do you see what a stupid system this is? And then I set up all these unjustified. Well, unity has to look this way. Dogma has to be done this way. Councils have to be done this way. I can't justify that, and I end up contradicting myself. But you fail because you don't meet my own arbitrary standard and definitions of unity, faith, and morals, how these things are practiced. And, I mean, who falls for this stuff? I know who falls for it. Somebody that's coming out of the chaos of Protestantism. The failures of Protestantism, and they immediately see two historical churches rooted in the apostles and the early church, Roman Catholicism, and what do they see? They're immediately going to be like, oh, it seems like, Orthodox are just, a bunch of mystics, mystery, and can't explain anything, and they just got a bunch of smoking incense around, and pretty looking smells and bells and icons, but Roman Catholicism, they have answers for everything. Not only are they historic and they have apostolic, they have all these wonderful rich history of intellectualism and stuff like that. I could see it, like that's exactly, and they don't go further. John Henry Newman says to be immersed deeply into church history is cease to be Protestant. I would say the same too, but like, keep going further and immersed in history and you won't be Roman Catholic. So they stay at the surface. They come out of Protestantism and they see like, oh, that looks appealing. Look how elaborate the system is and all the answers. And they don't go further. If you went further, you'd be like, oh my gosh, what a bunch of contradictions and sorcery tricks and mazes and unjustified ad hoc positions. That's what happened if you went further. Heretics become saints, right? And what's crazy is, again, all these critiques that they apply to us apply to them. Oh, Constantinople and Moscow are in a schism. Happened in the first millennium when you say Rome was like, so you just refuted yourself. Like, if that's a refutation of Rome. You allow divorce. First of all, there is no sacrament of divorce, you idiots. There's no service of divorce. So what do you mean by allow? We acknowledge it's a bad thing. The thing is, what are we going to do pastorally once it happens? That's the question. You are basically like, well, rules are rules, and the rule always applies everywhere at the same time because we're Kantians. And so you're not allowed in the church. You can go to hell, excuse my language, because rules are more important than the salvation and healing of a person's soul. That's Roman Catholicism for you. Whereas we would say, we don't allow it. It's not sanctioned. It's not encouraged. Question is, we realize it's a sin and a breaking, a failing of, and we're here to help. Would we kick them out and be like, you can't ever receive communion anymore or be joined to the church? Like, no, we'll work around that. We'll attempt to heal you. So what system do you want? Do you want a rule worshiping thing that had like it actually ends up being contradictory? Or do you want a program that heals and saves you? What do you want? Christ says, what do you want? Do you want to be healed? Roman Catholic? No, I'd rather have my mathematics check out and where I end up contradicting myself anyways. Okay, they're idolaters. Love their own thoughts and propositions in their mind and systems, which are nothing but a fantasy between their two ears. What a joke. No unity whatsoever. They were like, which church is too ethnic? Are you kidding me? I'm gonna read to you. I'm gonna read to you something. You're telling me $23 different rites. Almost all of them ethnic. The Latin tradition. And even that, I came from Southern California. The majority of Roman Catholic churches were done in Vietnamese and Spanish, not English. Congratulations. Well, it's too ethnic. I'm sorry. Of course, you could find one, but we have the same thing. We're actually better. We have, in the United States, I'd say it's more rare to find an ethnic speaking Orthodox church than an English, whereas Roman Catholic just vice versa. I would say it's far more foreign language spoken in Roman Catholic Church in America than there are, or pretty close. Okay, there's one right. How about the Alexandrian liturgical tradition? You have 3 rites in there: Coptic Catholic Church, Ethiopian Catholic Church, and Eritrean. They ain't speaking English. Antiochian. You literally have 3 bishops in there violating canon law. You have a Maronite Church, a Syrian Catholic Church, a Syro-Malankara Catholic Church, Armenian Catholic Church, Chaldean Catholic Church, Syro-Malabar Catholic Church, Albanian Byzantine Catholic Church, Belarusian Greek Catholic Church, Bulgarian Greek Catholic Church, the Byzantine Church of Croatia, Serbian, Montenegro, Greek Byzantine Catholic Church, Hungarian Catholic Church, Italo-Albanian Catholic Church, Macedonian Greek Catholic Church. Oh, the Orthodox are just defined by their countries and nationality. Are you kidding me? What is the matter with you people? The Melkite Greek Catholic Church, the Romanian Church united with Rome, the Greek Catholic Romanian Catholic Church, Russian Greek Catholic Church, Ruthenian Catholic Church, Slovak Greek Catholic Church, Ukrainian Greek Catholic Church. And you're telling me which church? Well, it's too ethnic. Oh, but they're all united with the Pope. Well, what does that show you again? Well, unity can only be one way, and it's the way that I say, and not the way that you say. Jesus is the same thing as Protestant is. Right? They're constantly doing, well, the scripture says what I mean and not what you mean, and it can only be one way, and it's my way and not your way. Yet there's no unity whatsoever. I mean, this is simply a nominal fake unity. You're allowed to, so the filioque has to be accepted, and it doesn't at the same time. You have different ascetic and schools of theology, ascetical practices, traditions, liturgies. You can worship, you can venerate these saints, but you can't because they're heretics and they've been excommunicated. That's unity? Oh yeah, because there's a pope. Unity with no unity. And they use it. These are the Reddit tier argue. This is what Roman Catholicism has devolved into. We don't have clown masses. We don't have all these things. We don't have all this. Theologians can't agree on anything. What does the Pope do to? And you can't even figure out what the Pope's saying. Like, was that infallible? We don't know. Because you're fallible, have to interpret, and then when you ask for clarification with the Pope, it's never going to give clarification. You can't call him on the phone, and even if he did, it would be a fallible interpretation of an infallible ex cathedra statement, which doesn't do anything. Why are you people falling for this? It wasn't from the chair, but we never know. So, do you see that's like another ad hoc? Yeah, but if it was wrong, it's not from the chair. Also, you're not allowed to judge the first see. You trad cats think you can do, but like, there's no defectability. You say the Pope can be a heretic, you can't say that. And even if he were, you have no principle of removing a Pope that's a heretic. And you can't identify if he's a heretic or not because you're not allowed to say that. I mean, all they do is contradict themselves. They can't go 2 seconds without contradicting themselves. Yeah, but if I just say the word Pope, I just say from the chair. It's not from the chair. Then it fixes everything. Don't look over here. Don't. These are not the droids you're looking for. This is not the theological question you're looking. This is not the theological question you're looking for. That's what it is. It's a Jedi mind trick that a bunch of autists like fall for. Am I getting pumped up? Let's go. Let's get some more super chats in here. So sad. We only got $11 today. Poor me. Oh, I remember. Don't forget, if you're a man, the St. Paisios Brotherhood tonight, where I'll just be discussing betrayal and forgiveness. A really important topic. And this kind of leads into, the general kind of conference theme as well. Therapia. How are we healed from an Orthodox perspective? I'll tell you, not through mathematical formula and Kantian abstract propositions and rules, absolute rules. That's not how you're saved. I should start that. I'll tell you how. Let's go through all the ways that you're not saved and healed. Now we got that away. How are you healed? And we'll talk about that. And why can't, as long as I follow the rules, whatever the rules are, that I can't ever identify them, fine. So notice, interesting to the questions of epistemology, it's accidentalism. It's a defeater of their system. Why? Because knowledge is not accidentally hitting the bullseye and getting a true belief. It's having justification for that. So they're just saying, well, as long as I don't know what the justification, can't identify it, but as long as he's saying something true and I believe it, then that's all good. Okay, then me too. You have no argument against Ortho. Like, I'm going to use the same thing. And now there's no knowledge. We never know. And I thought that's what you're promising, epistemic certitude. You never know. It's just, as long as it accidentally hits the right belief, and if it's true, then we're fine. And notice that's a viciously circular too. Well, if it's true, then that's my justification. Well, how do you know it's true? Well, because if it's true, that would be the justification. That's what self-evidence and foundationalism is that I don't need any other further explanation. It is the explanation of, well, how do I know that and not some other? Because it's the foundation, first principle. That's why. And I've given this argument before as a critique of foundationalism. If, by definition, a properly basic foundation, first principle, has no further reasons or justifications of why and how it's true, then my foundation A, how do I choose my foundation A versus not A? They both claim to be properly basic and foundational first principles, but they negate each other. Well, because they're foundations and there's no further reasons or justifications why you should choose A versus not A, then you have arbitrariness. Well, take your pick. You can pick whatever you want. So much for providing epistemic certitude. Like, it's all just random and arbitrary. Just pick whatever, call whatever you want self-evident, and you just take your choice. Now it's all reduced to psychologism and preference. Shout out to Lord Coffee. Yes, thank you. Who will be sending coffee to the conference and sponsoring. So we thank them. So, anyways, I brought that up because, look, ew! Eastern Orthodox is liberal on art. The audacity. Oh, Lamont, here you are. Co-post after easier. Yeah, exactly. The audacity to actually call. You're not in a position to say the orthodoxy liberal. That's hilarious. So this is the hot news. Look at, and this is what's unfortunate. Let's talk a little bit about this. Debate culture, bro. I've been thinking about this. We're in a weird space. Like, so there's positive and negatives about everything. It's really kind of cool to see that a resurgence of debate, that people are actually interested in this. I don't know if people were 10, 20 years ago. It was kind of a niche. It's accepted that that's definitely good. I think that's a positive. One of the things that it's always been good about debate is rooted in kind of Socrates and Plato and the Greeks, as Heraclitus says, listen not to me but to the logo. Follow the argument. Emotions shouldn't be leading you. Logos should. Reason, argumentation. And there was an agreement in society that yes, we should go where no matter how uncomfortable the position is, we should go where the best argument leads. And public debate was really important too, because it was able to show the public that believed in objectivity, reason, logos, argumentation, the folly of certain positions when they're made in debate. And there was real adherence to that. We live in a postmodern, post-enlightenment kind of world of nihilism and relativism and micro lifestyle choices. It's all about power, feelings, emotions, phenomenology, the individual over the, etc. So I could get going. And what is unfortunate about where debates were a lot more effective in ancient times, what do we see? It's really it's just pick your favorite team. What I saw in the chat, no ability to separate themselves from their own camp and position and look at the arguments objectively. Now, I've trained myself to do that. I can look at somebody on our side and be like, it was a bad argument. I would never use that. Most people can't. And it certainly seemed on the Roman Catholic side, like, and I just feel like these people, I would love in the chat if it actually showed your age. You know, like next to your profile picture or something like that. It actually had your, what if there's an age verification? It's like, this kid's 13, literally 13 years old. And this other person's a boomer. Wouldn't that be helpful? I don't mind being an age bigot. I don't care what you call me. Ageism might be based. I, in some sense, don't even need that because I can tell immediately. And it was just, oh, voice of reason, smoke. Oh, man, Ubi's cooked. He's getting cooked. There's no... That's all I saw. And I'm like, these people have no ability to, like, act objectively. They're not even listening. That was the other thing. Everybody's in the chat going, you don't even know what the argument is. You don't even know what he's saying because you're sitting and just spamming and trolling the chat. That's an unfortunate thing about modern kind of debate. Everybody just roots for their own team. Nobody has the ability. Whether you embrace relativism or not, you're a relativist. Like, you actually have no ability to discern objective truth. You're affected and infected by relativism. And therefore, you just root for your favorite team. Because look at this. I'm really surprised, El Seraphim says, I'm really surprised anyone thinks Voice Room did good here. Yeah, everybody in the chat does. I think, interesting enough, Sam Shamoon was the only person that I saw that actually kind of gave a balanced and nuanced position on that. So look at this guy. How could anybody remain orthodox after this debate? See what I mean? It's like, I thought voice of reason arguments were not good. I think I'm in a better position, somebody who teaches debate and logic, to analyze. And I'm not completely overrun by bias because I've been able to call out my own team member and be like, yeah, I don't think that person did well. I think Ubi did well here. So, and let's just look at this guy. Oh, he's not going to put his own picture, but... Oh, 23, or see what I mean? 23. Why are we listening to a 23-year-old? I told you. I'm just trying to think about what I was like. I'll tell you. What I was like at 23 years. Would I listen to myself? And believe that I had discernment at 23 years old. I probably had more, like, far more discernment than 23-year-olds have now, and I wouldn't even trust myself with. Furthermore, I'll come back here. Schlamp! Wow, thank God. Thank God. 1999, thank you so much. I have to thank you and Jay for all you guys have done in getting me to attend a Rocor church. It's been changing. Thank you, Father. God bless you. God bless you. I'm so happy for you, actually. Um, mm. Here's another thing I was thinking. Dr. David Patrick Harry, we have to call him that now. If people call me FDDDA, Father Deacon Dr. Ananias, we got to call Patrick DDPH. Sorry, I was looking at my skis and I got distracted. Ooh, can't wait to get my metal leg back up on the slopes. Skiing faster and better. We can build him faster and better. That's what they did. Healing's going really well, praise God. Thank you. Dr. David Patrick Harry did a stream yesterday. He was covering something for Father Peter Hears that relates a lot to what we're talking about. And he was talking about young people, new converts and stuff. What do? They jump in, exactly what I warned again, to the most, they have no training, no experience, no discernment, and they jump into the most difficult stuff in theology. So he talked a little bit about that. And they want to debate everybody. Why? Well, in some sense, debate's entertaining, right? And they see Jay and I. Do you know how long Jay and I have been doing debates? Do you know my educational background? Like, I didn't jump into this stuff. Yeah, I've been doing this, 25 years. So, well, you do so well, and I'm going to do that too. I mean, it's enjoyable. There's something noble about defending the truth and smashing and demolishing error and stuff like that, especially in the public. I get it. Too much, too soon, too fast. Slow it down. Slow your jets down. What is that? The boomers, dads always say, slow your jets down. But the thing is, not everybody either has the training or the ability to do that. And so what's really interesting, the positive aspect that people are appreciating debate more, has combined with kind of a lot of issues that we see in our contemporary times. Consumerism and entertainmentism. And because of the internet, I mean, look, everybody can be an actor and a musician now. Remember, there used to be a day and an age and time when, you had to go a certain route to how to play shows, how to get recorded, get a manager. Like, everybody can just... Do you know what's crazy? I was talking to my brother. If you pull up any of these kind of outside lands, Coachella... Now, of course, they'll always put a big headliner. I think I saw Beck was on one of them. There's always, the big headliners you could recognize. All the list of... I'm like, I have no idea who these people are. Am I, now the boomer? I'm totally out of touch. So I contacted my brother, who's in the music industry, who's a producer, sound engineer, 2-time Grammy, and I'm like, do you know, I brought up the situation, he's like, I don't even know who they are. In fact, this is really crazy, he's like, you know who they are? There was a girl that was brought into a studio, never has played a show or produced an album or something like this, and she's famous. And they were going to do this. How is that possible? Millions of people following. TikTok. She's a TikTok musician. And I'm like, that's a thing? She's like, and my brother said, it's a huge thing. Tons of the people in these festivals that you don't recognize, it's not because I'm out of touch with music. Because look at my brother, my brother's like, I don't even know what they are. It's the TikToker phenomenon. Everybody can just become famous through TikTok, and that's who these people are. I'm like, whoa, that's so crazy. Everybody can be a TikTok musician, TikTok actor, influencer. Now, in light of that, guess what? Everybody's doing debates now. That's the in thing. You don't need any training. You don't need any qualifications, degrees. Everybody has the internet. Everybody can do it. Now, what does that do? In one sense, I said the positive aspect. Oh, cool. There's an appreciation for rhetoric, debate, truth. And yet there's a sort of kind of devil's bargain in that. It's like, but it's all cheapened. It's all entertainment now. And what are the effects of it? Generally speaking, and I'm not talking like good debaters or something like that, professional. Most of the phenomenon is just entertainment, and people just pick their own sides and root for their own team anyways. So it's like, what do you think? What should everybody just be allowed to do? Like, is this a good thing? Snow Cookies donates $5. Any reading and writing tips for somebody with mind distracted in terms of video games? Yes. First of all, good regular sleep. Number 2, probably decrease of alcohol or number 3, get yourself in a room where you don't have the distractions, or go somewhere. Number 4, music, classical music or chant or Orthodox music or something like that. It'll drown out the rest and it'll kind of focus your mind. Typically music that doesn't have vocals on it, because the words can distract you, so purely instrumental music. I found all of those combined are good ways to kind of focus, especially given my ADD. So good question. Slow your roll. Yeah, that's another. Cool your jets. Slow your rolls. Keep your eyes peeled. Hey, kids. Keep your eyes peeled out there. Yeah, Joseph doesn't do beep. If I had it my way, I'm a total authoritarian. I hate libertarianism. I'd be like, nobody gets to do anything without my approval. How about that? I am the gatekeeper. I love it. Only Patristic Faith, only my channel, only the people I allow to debate. How about that? Problem solved. We need somebody in power who can approve that. You're not allowed to debate. So notice, now it's a free market. Everybody and anybody can do this. It's all, pull up your YouTube. Every single person is doing debates. And they don't approach it intellectually anymore. It's all just entertainment. It's cheap. It's not done well. There's very few people out there. What is that going to do for real people like Jay and I and other people who are actually like good at and the classical way of debating? People are going to burn out, right? It's like movie styles and music, like, or clothing styles. Like, it becomes too herd mentality and too popular, right? It's sensationalized, and then all of a sudden it's gone. Nobody cares about it anymore. So that's what's going to happen. And then furthermore, because 98% of people on there shouldn't be doing debates, that's going to give people like myself and Jay, like, I haven't, kind of one reason why I haven't been doing debates. Jay thinks I should start doing more of those. I've been putting all my energy into teaching courses. Because I'm not here to entertain you as my primary. I don't mind entertaining you. I like telling jokes and stuff like that. But my first things first is I want to educate you intellectually and spiritually, theologically. I like putting, that's where my heart is. I like putting the majority of my energy into building the kingdom, into my parish, into MontaNIKA, into teaching courses. I really do. People say, well, you're not going to grow your channel that way. I can make money. I know. Look, I didn't become a professor to get below minimum wage because I was going to make money. It's because the transcendentals of truth, beauty, and goodness are worthwhile pursuing, and helping others to be saved. I know I'm at a lot, right? Does that mean I won't do any debates at all? No, I'm thinking about it. Okay, I know you guys would like to see it. But what does happen though, 98% of the people are doing debates that shouldn't be doing debates. It's all just sensational. It's all just entertainment now. What happens? Then people like Jay and myself and others who are actually trained in debate, who studied many, many years in this stuff, get lumped in. Debate's bad. Here's a debate, bro. And then we get blamed for it. That's another negative aspect. So I'm giving positive and negative aspect. I don't really know what the answer is. I think eventually, unfortunately, it'll just burn itself out and nobody will like debates anymore. Do you disagree with me? Debate me. You don't think I'm right about that? About debating? Well, I'll debate you. I do enjoy debates, though. I really... But keep in mind, too, I'm also clergy, so I have to be much more selective about... First of all, I have priorities. My wife first, then my parishioners, then my students, then the public, okay? And because I'm clergy, I have to be beyond reproach. I have to be, I could never, as clergy, go on whatever podcast. Like, you know that. That would be inappropriate for me to do. So, do you see it kind of limits me on... Yeah, and I already wasted enough time. It's like, what is this really going to do? I'll grow my channel. I know. Like, there's tons of stuff that I could do to grow my... but is it... In the long run, is it really worth it? If virtue and salvation and the things that are eternal, and I even mean by knowledge, too, in terms of education... My grandfather taught me that, too. When I was... growing up, seek eternal things, seek knowledge because it's eternal. And he taught me that those are the things I'll put first. So those are just my thoughts. I just thought about it too because Father Peter went over debate culture, and I'm like, it's giving us professional debaters a bad name. It's cheapening it. It's just fast food debate, American consumerism, and entertainmentism. I'm not actually thrilled about what's happening. I know, I thought about, don't hurt the other ankle. I'll be forced inside. Deus fault, bruh. God wills. If he wants my ankle to be hurt, inshallah, bruh. As long as I'm not negligent. Again, I can't help accent. Now, somebody might be like, well, you're going to go off that cliff again. I'm like, absolutely. But I know what I'm doing. Trust me, bruh. See, people are getting sick of debates. Now, if I really wanted to grow my channel, think about how Ben Shapiro and what's the other moron? Hey, what's the other moron that's always doing debates on campus with leftists and stuff? Charlie Kirk and the other guy. Remember Patrick just did a stream? Well, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk. Name all the unholy trinity out there. There was one other guy. They grew by picking low-hanging fruit on campus and debating morons. I could do that. Give me a debate. Would live stream where I debate the liberal professors at my college. And thing is, my students are actually pretty good salt of the earth students. My college is not plagued at the student level with liberalism. They're young, they don't know a lot of stuff, but if you look at them, they look like pretty good salt of the earth. Of course, you get some weird liberal kind of kids, but yeah, I was joking with Jay when I was in St. Augustine, because I actually on the street have gotten in debates or in conversations with people at bars on the street, and I'm like, that would be funny. So I had Jay oh, Jay, you got to come to this bar, right? There's this guy, and we're arguing with Orthodoxy, and he's like, I don't want anything to do with it. It'll grow your channel. In all the parishioners that were hanging out were like, yeah, absolutely, that would be funny. But I don't think I could do. But you get the idea. I'm just joking. I could do low hanging fruit. Do you want me to do it? Let me go debate the man on the street. Would it be better? Would you like me to see me debate grizzly bears? You're wrong. I'm calling you out, Smokey the bear. And I'm dead. I joked, really wanted to grow my channel. I'd call mom and dad and I'd debate my parents. Have you ever seen a live stream of somebody debating their mom and dad? That would also be dangerous. Ways in which I could grow my channel and make lots of money that I shouldn't do. That's what the theme for today is. You got to identify the things that you shouldn't do. And I'm doing that. I listed all the things. Oh, it's so funny. Yeah, but you shouldn't do it. That'd be so entertaining. You shouldn't do it. It changed my mind, yeah. And again, I just wish more people, it's all about building the kingdom. Put first the kingdom of God. I know it's important to make money and stuff like that, but that's the second, third thing. Let's build the kingdom together. That's what MontaNIKA is about. That's why I throw all my energy into the parishes and stuff like that. I feel so fulfilled and so much joy in participating in that and doing that sort of work. I'm never bored. I don't have anxiety with I feel right. And I wish people could experience that. I was talking with somebody that, sometimes I gotta catch myself that it's okay, I'm poor, I don't make a lot. Just because I'm a professor, again, I get university and colleges do not pay adjuncts. It's less than minimum wage. Don't have medical insurance through them. It's very easy for one to fall into kind of negative, given that a complaining attitude. And I had a friend once, I was telling him, man, I don't make, that's just ridiculous. It's just so, you can get angry about it, I'm being cheated by the system. That's why I would say, when people are claiming, entry-level workers are getting, don't have a livable wage. I'm like, whoa, you get in line. I worked my whole life. I have a terminal degree, I have all these degrees. I'd get less than you. If anybody's, so you can have this kind of, it's very easy to fall in this kind of non-Eucharistic Thanksgiving and kind of victimhood mentality. And sometimes, I need people like my priest or a friend to snap me out of that. And he had a really good point. He's like, yeah, but we're all spending 9 to 5 working, wanting exactly a life that you do. And I'm like, gosh, man, I feel so bad. Okay, God gives me just enough to get by. He keeps me humble. I thank God for that. And yeah, I have this amazing schedule. I can ski, fish. I work 2-3 days out of the week. Get to serve at church Saturdays and Sundays. Get to travel the world and do conferences and stuff. Because even though I don't get paid a lot, I still get, at least once a year some funding from the college to go. And I'm like, I have a lot to be thankful for. And there's joy in it because it's putting first things first. Put the kingdom first. I'm like, yeah, this money makes. God always takes care. Look, all of you who helped me with my medical bills, the fundraising. I went way over what I thought. I shut it down in 2 days because I felt guilty. I'm like, well, I have more than enough to cover my medical bills and any future ones that come in. So thank you so much for that. I have so much stuff to be thankful for, and I just encourage you to find that joy by seeking first the kingdom of God. Like, build the kingdom. Like, you will find joy and God will take care of you. There's nothing to worry about. And all of this was proven to be true. Yeah, get more involved in your parish. It's real joy. And so even at doing coffee hour, we have different groups each week. It's like one second, the movie, Quentin Tarantino movie, Reservoir Dogs. We have different colored groups. The green group, I don't know if there's pink group, but green group, red group, blue group. And we all volunteer. We go get food and cook and stuff. Like, each week there's a color group that all the colors of the rainbow. No, there's a color group that, and there's just joy in it. It's so cool. Volunteer to clean, to sing. Let me look and see if we got, yeah. Oh, cool. Got it. Yeah, it just came in 25 minutes ago. I just hadn't pulled it out because I was talking and preaching to it. I'm sorry. Salvo donates $10. Thank you, Salvo. You're my first online donation ever. I would love to help. Thank you. Thanks for answering the previous question. And is it true that most of the church was falling to Arianism? Yes, absolutely it was. The majority of the church had. This would counter Rogan's argument. They're right because of the majority. Exactly. I think that was actually brought up too. I was talking with a parishioner about this too. Numbers is not a sign of success. If so, look at megachurches. Numbers are not a sign of health. Look at megachurches. Church! Look at this church buffet with a monster truck rallying. What was Jay's thing? We've got a slippery slide into a filth pool. You can get the numbers up. Doesn't mean it's healthy or good. And exactly. There was only a remnant during the time of Arian. It probably will look like it was the end of the world, I would have thought. I mean, it makes the problems that we're going through in the Orthodox Church right now look like not. It's like, yeah, but look at that. And they were murdering and killing people. The Orthodox. Cutting out their tongues and eyes and hands and killing them and torturing them. It'd be like there's nobody left. That all the bishops have become Arians. The majority, like that, yeah. And yet, no matter how bad it looks, the gates of hell are coming up. They never prevail, do they? And the church blossoms after that. And then persecution comes again, and it blossoms. Like it's back at the ebb and flow. But weird. That's what I'm saying. It just seems like 12, 13-year-old Reddit, like, oh, Constable Phelps said, literally Job's friends' arguments. Bad things are happening because God hates you. Like, you're an idiot. You don't have the numbers, so. I don't know how somebody gets so low IQ in their reasoning. You join a cult. That's how, huh? A cult will do that. Huh, Gemma? Just for my cat. Hello? You want to say hello to the class? The class. You're the class, sorry. Hello? Come up here. Come see everybody. Come on. Yes. Meow. Can you hear her? She's got a really soft, feminine voice. She looks like a girl, actually. Girl cat. Come on. Up here. Yes. Oh, here she comes. Come on. Oh. Oh, this is Gemma. Oh, little girl. Gemma, say hello. Hello? Hello? She got beady eyes. Say hello. Hello? Okay. Okay. Say hello. Hello? Somebody has a critique about Hume. Question about Hume's critique of causality. Yes, shoot. Yeah, I was just going to say, by the way, yeah, but that standards Islam would be true. Oh, yeah. What's the question about? Hello? Yeah, she's little. She was the cat we lost. So I was talking to my godson about like a really stressful time that I was in California. My grandmother had died, and we were living in the house where I was taking care of her, and I was overloaded teaching. I was teaching 5 classes, which is already bad enough. Then it was finals, so your workload and stress increases. And my mother-in-law died. I was having a bunch of bad stuff happen. And then my aunt and uncle purchased my grandmother's house, and then the next month I had to go to Russia, and so they were like, well, oh, you're right, your mom didn't die yet. That's right, she died after we went on our pilgrimage to Russia, because I dedicated the pilgrimage to Russia to my mother-in-law. But there was tons of stuff. There was a bunch of other bad stuff kind of going on too. It was really difficult. I was having some health problems, and in the midst of finals, and you don't know what it's like teaching 5 classes, let alone finals. I had to, because over the years, I brought all this stuff from Ireland, this house in Garden Grove, like this 3-bedroom home. So we had tons of stuff. I had to pack all of that stuff. It took forever to clean. While I had no time, and I was doing church services, and then find an apartment. I couldn't find an apartment. I'm like, I have to literally move in a month. And I was having my family members and friends kind of help clean. I'm like, I need help. I don't have time to do. And somebody left the door open, and little Gemma escaped. And I was just devastated. Like, my wife and I were just... And the sad part about it is... we moved to Fullerton, which is like 15-20 minutes away, and it's like I'm not going to be there even every day, like, to be able to find her, like, if she shows up. And then I went to Russia for a month. Now, what was really interesting, my spiritual father was like, he had a premonition that he's like, don't worry, he's like, you'll find her. And I was like, there's no way. I'm like, we literally lived 3 cities away, 2 cities away, 20 minutes away. When we gone, like, a cat's not going to survive. She's an indoor cat. And there's coyotes and all kinds of crazy animals running around. I'm like, I'd given up. And then we came back from Russia. Remember that, Gemma? And my uncle was like, first of all, two brothers and a sister. There's a bunch of cats in that neighborhood. They're all related. They all look the same. That was the other thing. My mom would show me my picture. Like, I think this is you. I'm like, that's not the. So that made it difficult. And then my uncle, when we came back from Russia, after being a month in Russia, was like, I think your cat's showing up. Like I heard it or something. But he didn't know. And so he's like, yeah, I've been feeding it, but it's really skittish and won't let me touch it. And so I came one day and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's my cat. And then it was so scared, whatever it went through for a month, and it was tired, like it was so emaciated. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh. It had been living under my neighbor's house and like scavenging from other cats and stuff. And so I came back the second day with a carrier, and I grabbed her and got her back. Can you believe that? How long was that? Almost 2 months she was missing?
It was
2 months. 2 months. So she's a special girl. We like having her. All right. Right, lots. So the question is, why can't we see causality in the billiard ball example Human gives? Why can't we say the billiard ball causes billiard ball to me? Because you don't see that. All you see is one thing happening after another. So, for example, if you see the second hand of a clock move and then another event happen, does the movement on the watch cause you to walk through the door? So all you actually see, so what you're doing is you're imposing a made-up story about causality. You never see causality. All you see is one thing happening after another. But correlation is not causality. So you just have to arbitrarily say, yeah, but these things cause this. Well, you never see literally causality is not anything that you can ever see or conclude from empirical. Does that make sense? And because we can go countless examples of things that's like, yeah, this thing happened, that thing, but that doesn't mean it caused that thing. So you're doing the same thing with the billiard balls. You don't see. What would seeing causality even look like? It would have to be different than seeing one thing happen after another, right? And because you see one thing happen after another, you don't conclude causality. Therefore, you have no reasons to say that anything empirically causes another thing. That's the point. Does that make sense? Let me look. Daniel Moan, it's $10. Roman Catholic position has a very similar epistemology to Mormonism. They both suffer from moralistic issues. They both suffer from not knowing which statement. Yeah. I would say, though, I definitely think Mormon is probably more rooted in subjective. So they definitely have very similar problems, but I think Mormonism is probably even more incoherent and definitely more subjective, emotional. It's not as elaborate and worked out of a system. But yeah, good point. $10. Snow Cookies donate 5. Salvo donate 10. Daniel Lemon donate 10. Schlamp, I want to give a shout out. $19.99. Solomon donated $1, and Dave flipping 10. Thank you so much. It's because I get talking, I forget to look at the super chats. Yeah, Garden Grove has a lot of coyotes. Like, that's what I remember was crazy. And people would leave their little dogs out. And I remember staying my parents once, last maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. Since we'd moved up here, I went back to visit, and I remember you could hear this little dog barking in the yard, and then and then silence, and I'm like, oh man, dude, that sucks to be the owner. Like, that coyote got to the little dog and killed it. Like, you knew what happened. The other thing too is that what makes me really mad is the people that let their cats go outdoors. I think that's really cruel. It's really upsetting. The average lifespan for an outdoor cat's like 3 years. That is not being kind to your cat to let it to wander. It can get diseases. It can get hit. They always get hit by cars, eaten by other animals. Our cats we keep them indoors. We feed them a raw diet. They're 11 years old, totally healthy. We keep this up. They could be 21 years old. We could have another good 10 years with our cats. And it just really makes me mad, I'll see on Facebook that somebody's cat's missing or hit, and I'm like, what is the matter with people? So keep them, if you have a cat, keep them indoors. Don't let them go. It might be a little bit harder if they've already been an outdoor cat, but you can do it. Other questions before we go? I'm gonna eat some lunch. Like I said, we've got the St. Paisios Brotherhood talk tonight. This is funny. This is from Deacon Patrick. Deacon Life Hacks. This is funny. I'm just looking at it. Follow Deacon Patrick. Are you in the chat? I'm seeing your email. Oh, the little girl got out like a year ago. We went. Was that a year ago or 2 years ago, Melissa? We went down to church, right? Was that for Pascha? When Gemma got out? What? Was that 2 years ago when we went to Pascha, or was it Christmas when Gemma got out? Oh, it was third year. Oh, that's right. It was third year MontaNIKA. And there was wind and it blew the balcony door open. And I'm walking up the stairs, right? And all of a sudden, I see little Gemma like under the and she's like, "Wow!" And I'm like, oh my gosh. I told my wife, I'm like, it's Gemma. She thought I was joking. And I'm like, I grabbed her immediately. Poor little girl was just hanging on there. She fell off jumped or something, off the balcony after the door was open. And the neighbors were like, yeah, there was some poor little girl was trying to get into the old lady in the apartment below, was scratching on the door. She doesn't know, which they look the same. And that was the second time she escaped. Poor girl. No Strong donates $20. Thank you so much. I heard Father Moses say we Orthodox believe animals pray to God. I'm curious, where can I read more? I have no idea. I've never heard I had never heard that before. So I can't help you with that. That's crazy. I mean, pray to God. Oh, worship. All of nature is said to worship God. Obviously, can't in the same way as us. But there's scriptures that talk about all of nature bows down, right, in worship of God. Now, that obviously can't be the same worship of us, because our worship requires free will, rationality, being made in the image of God. Like, so the way worship looks for us is very different than the way, but all of nature bows down to, yeah. But pray, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know about that, man. Phenomenology is born out of Kant because of the noumenal and phenomenal distinction. We cannot have access to the thing in itself. Read also what am I blanking on? Future prolegomena to any prolegomena to any future metaphysics, where basically metaphysics is gone. You don't have access to that. You have access to the phenomenal world of appearances, and then that traditions carry like that's, and that's what the critique of pure reason is. What is the bounds of reason? Like pure reason in metaphysics ends up in antinomies. He shows there's contradictions. It can't actually justify certain things. It goes way beyond the limits of what reason could actually do. So then reason is restricted in terms of three things. Transcendental deduction. It can isolate and discover what the necessary conditions of the operating necessary conditions for the possibility of knowledge. 2, morals. Moral reasoning. And 3, phenomenological reasoning within the phenomenon. And so out of that then you get Husserl and bracketing. It's just like you can't go in. It's the kind of, that's why it says Kant was awoken from his dogmatic slumber. Hume woke him like he realized reason can't go beyond. And so then the history of philosophy goes into, so it focuses on phenomenology, which then develops into continental philosophy. And then if you can't do metaphysics, then you focus on language and and mathematics and logic, and that develops. So the rules of thought and semantics and stuff like that develops into analytics. So those are the two streams come out of Kant. Good question. Yeah, we get, what's the name of the raw diet? Thrive? No. Viva Raw. So you actually have to, you can't just give your cats raw diet, and it's going to be different. Obviously, what dogs need and cats, that's different too. They have to mix in, what's some of the stuff that I forget they mix into the, yeah, there's kind of some other nutrients that they need in a raw diet that are mixed in. So we're not just like catching wild animals out here in Montana and grinding them up and feeding to the cats. They have to have kind of supplements introduced too. And the longevity, like their health, their gums, their teeth, their coat, like they are really, like we could really tell a huge difference. It's more expensive. It's actually quite expensive, but you pay money for the things that you love and care for. Rainey, did you punch her in the face? It's like, sweet. I wonder if that would hold up in court. If you recorded a teacher saying that, and then so they sued you, and you before could be like, well, actually, they implicitly gave me I had interpreted that I could actually they said there's no good or like, and that was explicit consent, that I could take their money and punch them in the Adam's apple. I'd love to see if that holds up. A great movie for you to watch, kind of on this, most people don't know, from Alfred Hitchcock, Rope, about Jimmy Stewart. Oh, Jimmy Stewart's a philosophy professor. He's a Nietzschean philosophy professor that says there is kind of no, that morality of good and evil is slave morality, and that the Ubermensch, the true man, is pure will who rises above that. And his philosophy students take him seriously. They and have this dinner, kill one of their fellow students, this girl, put her under in a coffee table, and put a like tablecloth, and set up a dinner, and invite Jimmy Stewart, the philosophy, Jimmy Stewart, over for dinner, and then basically put clues that they took his philosophy and actually incarnated and made it serious. It took it out of just being abstract, and then he finds it morally repugnant. Like, it's a great movie, but I would love to see if that would hold up in court. If you say there's nothing wrong or intrinsically wrong, good or evil, and I recorded that, I have it, that the teacher implicitly said I could steal their money, and they said there was nothing wrong with that. Or you could record and just blackmail her. Don't do it, but I'm saying that because it makes a point. But like, fantastic, I've just recorded you, and this is going out. And then say, like, for example, I'm going to actually take this and say that, and take whatever issue that's just morally atrocious, and be like, you actually said that if you don't give me an A in this class and $5,000, this is going out into the public. It would be interesting to see what you would say, even if you didn't do it. Be like, I just recorded you, and I'm going to actually make that public, that what you said, that slavery and torturing children is not. And what do you have to say about that? And then just at the end be like, I'm just joking, but like, seriously, get some help. I would have to, like, I would be, that's the type of student that I would be like, when I'd be like, congratulations, I just recorded everything you said, and I'm going to tell everybody I'm calling the cops on you. Just messing. But am I? Haha, just kidding. But what if I wasn't? Do you know? I can't know. I'd totally do an MK Ultra psyop gaslight on my teacher. Truth is a necessary precondition for knowledge, because knowledge is true justified belief. Isn't that cool? That's a pretty straightforward one. Alright, I am going to look for one more super chat, and then I'm going to leave you guys. Thank you so much for wonderful support today. Anything you want to ask before we leave? My wife's vacuuming. That's the noise in the background. I heard nature abhors a vacuum. All right. You could look at, I'll put it in here, Thomas Aquinas' syllabus here. And again, just, minus out a lot of the kind of papist stuff, and you don't have to do all of it, because it's a lot. I mean, it took me 4 years of just non-stop studying, no TV, living in kind of a monastic in the mountains to actually pull that off. And I wasn't even, there was so much work that there was times where I'm like, I can't do this reading. I'm about to cut out because I had like a math proof to do or some other homework assignment or a lab that I'm just like, so keep that in mind. At best, if you could get yourself in a situation you're not working and you just have 8 hours a day to do that, you could pull all of that off in 4 years. All right. God bless you guys. May the Lord keep you, His grace shine upon you and give you strength until tomorrow. Signing off, and my love and prayers to you all. God bless.